This announcement on a visit to a major UN summit in New York. So is this money well spent if it hastens the end of the war, or does it prolong the agony? And can sending billions abroad be justified at a time when so many Brits are struggling at home? To debate this, I'm delighted to welcome Conservative MP and Chair of the Defence Select Committee in the House of Commons, Tobias Ellwood, and the UK correspondent of the popular news website News Online, Rebel News, Lewis Brackpool. So let me start with you if I can, Lewis. Do you think it's justified to send billions to Ukraine when so many Brits are struggling?
It's quite simply no. Britons are going to have a very, very tough winter, to be totally honest. And this idea of this being a cost of living crisis, well, in fact, it's actually a cost of lockdown and a cost of this eco-fanaticism with green policies and these sanctions upon Russia, which is actually hurting ordinary people over oligarchs over in Russia. And this stigmatization of putting the British people first has sort of been running this course for quite a long time now, which I don't think it's a disgusting thing to say, that we should be putting our people first. And the famous quote, charity starts at home, should really be applied there.
However, we know, don't we, that Russia's invasion of Ukraine, as well as being a humanitarian crisis, Lewis, is artificially spiking the cost of global energy. So isn't this money well spent if it brings the war to a swift conclusion?
Well, according to figures that we rely on 4% actually of energy from Russia. So this idea of fueling and sending billions and billions of pounds, I think we're up to about 5 million pledged so far. I think the main question to ask is, where is this money going? I mean, we can't verify exactly where this is heading. So I think that would be more the appropriate question to ask, in my view.
Weaponry, manpower. Don't we want to see Putin defeated?
Absolutely, absolutely. But this is a war we shouldn't be a part of, in my humble opinion. We're sending billions and billions of pounds and interfering with something that we, in my personal opinion, shouldn't be a part of, in my total honesty. I mean, we have so many problems in our backyard with inflation. The idea of going cashless very soon is a big concern. Of course, the energy crisis, like you mentioned, our open borders as well, where anyone can get into a dinghy from France and travel over to the UK. And of course, business owners are going to struggle to keep their doors open in the coming months. And the Tory government has mentioned this idea of this magic money tree that doesn't exist. But all of a sudden, we can now find the money to send to Ukraine, this bastion of democracy.
Tobias Ellwood, welcome to the programme. Should Britain be pledging £2.3 billion amid a cost of living crisis and towards a war that some are calling the forever war?
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear some of those views. I'm glad you pushed back a little bit. The idea that we live in isolation and that we can just turn our backs on what goes on in other parts of the world is for the birds. It really is. The reason why we have inflation here, the reason why there's a migration problem is because people are trying to get away from war zones and so forth. And if Britain doesn't step forward, as we've done in the past, and lead other like-minded nations, then these problems are only going to get bigger. The reason why food is so expensive in this country is because the grain can't get out of Ukraine. So the grain price, international grain prices have gone up. The reason why oil and gas is expensive is because it's not getting across Europe. That affects the entire gas and oil market. And that's what's causing inflation in this country. I repeat, if we don't step forward, which nations will? You can't say, yes, I want Putin defeated. I want Putin outside of Ukraine, and not being willing to step forward. That's a 1937 view of the world. I make it really, really clear. Our world is getting more dangerous and more complex. Democracies are on the decline. Authoritarianism is on the rise. And if we don't wake up and work with allies such as the United States and there's others that are in the UN right now meeting, then I'm afraid then we're in for a very bumpy decade indeed.
However, do we know, Tobias Ellwood, where this money is going? Is there accountability for these billions?
Of course there is, absolutely. We're not a country that simply throws money at another nation and not has any account for it.